It's your call.
Don't go too far, Sheila. No, not at all. No.
Loretta, you want to stand?
Where's Liz? Liz, you should join us as well, please. Maybe over on this side. Over on this side, maybe just to balance out a little bit. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to announce that Senate President Sweeney, Speaker Coughlin, Lieutenant Governor Oliver, and our respective teams have reached an agreement that will allow us to enact a budget which invests in our communities and shared values and which is backed by the sustainable revenues we need to ensure this progress continues into the future. Today, the era of budget gimmicks is ending, and the era of a stronger and fairer New Jersey that works for every family is just beginning. Because of the agreement reached today, we will be able to make our full investment of $242 million in NJ Transit. We'll be able to invest in college affordability, core services and programs, and in our communities. We'll increase the state property tax deduction from $10,000 to $15,000. We'll make an $83 million investment in pre-K and increase public school funding. We'll have a new child and dependent care tax credit and an expansion of the earned income tax credit. We'll make a historic investment in our pension system. We got nearly every dollar for these investments, and we can ensure these investments for the future. And we'll be able to restore funding for homestead rebates, which the Speaker Coughlin, championed, and implement a much-needed modernization of our school funding formula that Senate President Sweeney undertook. I never doubted, Sheila never doubted, that we would be able to reach an agreement. I believed in my core that we'd eventually get here, as I'm sure the Senate President and Speaker and their teams and colleagues both did as well. And I thank them for not giving up until we had an agreement. I thank everyone who helped us get here. This truly was a team effort. I must begin with the Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver, and Treasurer Liz Moyo. And I also thank Majority Leaders Loretta Weinberg and Lou Greenwald, and Budget Chairs Paul Sarlo and Ileana Pinto-Marin, and the rest of the leadership team in both chambers. I also want to thank the staffs, my staff, Treasury and OMB, the Senate and Assembly Majority Office staffs, and OLS, all of whom did an enormous amount of unheralded behind-the-scenes work. And I thank all the progressive Democrats who supported this budget and our priorities. Your commitment to a stronger and fairer New Jersey inspires me, inspires us to work every day for our middle class, urban communities, and working families. Let me be clear, there will be no shutdown. The parks and beaches are open. Here are the broad outlines. First, we have a millionaire's tax. We agree that we must ask the wealthiest New Jerseyans to pay their fair share to allow us to ramp up our investments in school funding and property tax relief. New Jersey will enact an increase in the income tax to 10.75% on filers with incomes of $5 million and above, a total of $280 million in new annual revenues. Secondly, we will implement a corporate business tax surcharge, averaging 2% over 4 years. The first 2 years at 2.5%, years 3 and 4 at 1.5% each. This is a fair agreement that will provide $425 million in revenue for this budget and ensure we remain competitive as we work to grow our economy. The Senate President and Speaker have also agreed to my and our request that New Jersey adopt a combined reporting standard, which ensures that companies cannot park profits in other lower income tax states. Because of these measures, there will be no change in the sales tax. We have also agreed to restore $20 million in aid for community colleges for a total investment in the coming year of $25 million. And importantly, we will be able to end the upcoming fiscal year with a surplus of approximately $750 million, which was our target from the very beginning. It is no secret that New Jersey faces real challenges. They weren't created overnight, and they won't be solved overnight. But this is a strong first step. I won't stop fighting to make our tax system fairer, and I won't stop fighting to make sure that we make the investments our future demands. we have just started on this journey. We're going to keep working together to keep moving the ball down the field. I'll let the Senate President and the Assembly Speaker speak to the timing of final passage through their respective chambers, but I am looking forward to signing the budget as soon as humanly possible. And because we have this agreement, under my authority as governor, I will not declare a shutdown in the interim. There is so much that the four of us and the whole group of us, in fact, up here, and millions of New Jerseyans agree upon. Strong and fairly funded public schools, modern and reliable mass transit, fairness for working families and our middle class, stronger communities, particularly our urban communities, a growing and vibrant economy. Each of these priorities is written into this budget, and now our ambitions for each of them can be brought to fruition. Before I turn it over to the Senate President, I want to make one more thing perfectly clear. We had honest, blunt, sometimes heated, yet always civil discussions. I have tremendous respect for the leaders individually and as partners in governing. I appreciate their willingness to sit down and get this agreement done. This is not a win for any of us individually. This is a win for the middle class and working families and for those who look up and dream to be in the middle class all across New Jersey. There is so much we agree upon. There was never a disagreement about our values or principles, just on how best to get there. But as we fail to see, I might add, in Washington, in New Jersey, we reach across the table, we find common ground, and we move forward as one. With that, I'd love to ask the Senate President to come up and say a few words. Senator?
Thank you. Well, I want to start by thanking the governor and our leadership teams. It's been one hell of a journey. As the governor said, it was never been a disagreement on where we wanted to go. It was how to get there. And we got there in a place we all think is fair. There is no winners or losers, as the governor said. The New Jersey residents they're the winners here. For me personally, knowing that school funding is finally on the road to be fixed and our kids will fully be funded and there won't be us against them, that the corporations that Donald Trump gave billions of dollars to is now going to put up some of their share to help us get along the way. And I'm not going to be long. It was a hell of a journey, Governor. This is my 9th budget. It was probably just as hard as some of the other ones. But you know something? Changing course in New Jersey is never easy. And the legislature and the governor have worked through this. I am proud that the governor was willing to compromise. I appreciate the compromise. I think we all did. And at the end of the day, we got a budget that's going to fix our schools and move the state forward. So thank you, Governor. And I also, the Speaker has been one hell of a partner to work with. And we've done a lot of good things. Like when people saw us fighting all the time, people forgot how much we did in the first 5-6 months. We agree on almost everything. And, you know, we're going to continue to move the state forward by doing legislation that's going to have a difference that's going to really make a difference in the people's lives. So, Governor Murphy, thank you. Thanks. It's a good day for everyone. And thanks, tomorrow morning, since this is ours, we will be caucusing at 7 a.m. and we'll be voting at 8 a.m. in the morning. We have to get our bills ready, and sorry, David.
Yeah.
It was at or 3:30 this morning. So, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Well done. Thank you for that. I'd like to now ask the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin, to come up and say a few words. Craig?
Thank you, Governor. Yeah. You know, as the Senate, thank you. As the Senate President pointed out, we had accomplished so much and with such ease during the first 4 months. We figured we'd mix it up a little in June, and I think we were able to do that. But I want to thank the Governor, the Senate President, and my Assembly colleagues and staff for their hard work in achieving a budget that's balanced and fair and responsible. Throughout this process, my goal was to ensure that the voice of my caucus was heard loud and clear. And we wanted a budget that protected New Jersey taxpayers and made sure that those who received the largest windfall from the Donald Trump tax cuts pay their fair share. And I think we've achieved that. We wanted to ensure that we kept our commitment to seniors and working families who were promised a fully funded homestead rebate. Today, I'm pleased to join with the Governor and the Senate President in saying that we have reached that agreement that meets all of those priorities and many more. From fully funding schools, to funding affordable housing programs, to more funding for roads, bridges, and New Jersey Transit. This is a budget that turns the page on the last 8 years and ensures a more equitable and fair budget for working and middle-class families, including increased tax relief for those who need it most as part of our middle-class priorities. To the Governor and the Senate President, thank you for fighting for our shared vision and how to make New Jersey stronger. To my caucus, and especially to Chairwoman Eliana Pinter-Marin and the members of my leadership team and the Budget Committee, and to key staff members, thank you for your input and your hard work. We often agreed, sometimes agreed not to agree, but always fought for our House to be an equal voice in those negotiations and in reaching a fair and balanced agreement, and we succeeded. And to the people of New Jersey, they should know that this budget is fair and responsible. It protects our common priorities and offers a great deal of opportunity for the future. Thank you all for your hard work. It's a privilege to have worked with you, gentlemen. And we, too, will be caucusing at 7 and voting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
As a result, we'll keep the Q&A short tonight. Sheila, come on in. Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver.
I simply want to congratulate Governor Murphy, Senate President Sweeney, and Speaker Craig Coughlin for all of the hard work that they put in. I had to smile when they said some days were good, some days were bad. But I've often believed that leadership is the only ship that doesn't return to port when there's a storm. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. There's nothing wrong with having different points of view. What is important that everyone who is in leadership stays the course and we get to the outcome. And the outcome is a good outcome for everyone in New Jersey. So I just want to congratulate everyone, to all of the leadership in the Senate and in the Assembly, and really, really want to thank Senate President Sweeney and Speaker Coughlin.
Thank you, Sheila. All right. I do mean it. We're going to take a few questions just because of the hour of the night. Please.
Hi, Governor. We were outside for 8 hours today, so we have a lot of questions.
I thought we organized for you to come inside.
After 8 hours.
It was not a strategy to get you to go away, I promise you.
So where are we on Uber, Airbnb, vacation rentals, liquid tobacco, and community college?
I'm going to have folks follow up on the specifics at that level later on, if I could. Michael, we'll answer it for you, though, I promise you.
Yesterday, the legislature proposed a 5-year, $5 million millionaire's tax. You said it would raise $120 million, 20% of what should be raised.
Yep.
Today, you're saying $280 million.
Yep.
How did it grow?
The rate. So I mentioned in private and in public that a millionaire's tax was an existential item for me and for us. I believe in order to achieve tax fairness, it had to be part of this. And the notion of how we did it was never as important as doing it and establishing that recurring revenue from the wealthiest among us to invest in this budget, which does so much for working and middle-class families, and as I mentioned, the dreams of those who aspire to get in it. The rate went up meaningfully, and so we were looking at a grid, and it's a very meaningful increase in the investment in the rate. Please.
You guys were throwing haymakers at one another for 2 weeks.
We're Democrats.
So have you all patched things up now, or is this a continuing process?
I'll say for myself, and you guys want to disagree, please jump in. I think we ended in a very good place. I think it was, in many respects, Steve said this, we're not going to see everything the same way, but our objectives in this budget were overwhelmingly overlapping in terms of what we wanted to accomplish. How we were going to get there was really much more of the issue. I think we ended in a good place, unless you guys disagree.
The senator on that, if you don't mind, sorry.
I agree with what the governor said. Listen, David, we were all ruffling each other because we all believed so passionately what we wanted, but the end game was what we all wanted. So, listen, we're well beyond that. We're moving forward, and hopefully, we got a good year ahead of us, right, Governor?
Amen. Amen to that. Please, Dustin, real quick. I don't recognize you guys with your hats on, so forgive me if I get the wrong name.
Yeah, they look a little odd.
Yeah.
Back to the millionaire's tax, unless I'm mistaken, what you announced was about half as much revenue as what you had estimated for your initial proposal.
Yeah.
Millionaire's tax. So where are you making up that other?
So the mix of revenue is largely sustainable, but there were some developments that happened that were, we can't turn our back on. So there's a big, as the Senate President mentioned, there's a big corporate business tax. There's a big millionaires tax. But there's also a Supreme Court decision came down that allowed us to secure. Part of the reason why we were able to go without resetting the sales tax is the Supreme Court helped us. And that's a meaningful assessment on internet sales. We also had a repatriation reality that is upon us. And never mind the one-time possibility to take revenues from that from last fiscal year, there's an ongoing element. That's an ongoing sustainable piece. You add up a lot of that and you get back to about where we were. Tax amnesty is in this, but I forget the number, but it's not an overwhelming number.
Governor, yesterday you were saying that you were surprised or you couldn't understand how, without mentioning the legislature, that they were protecting 21,000 millionaires, and you gave particular focus to the 1,760 over 5 million that were going to get dinged by
Yep.
a tax. So what makes you, just because raising the rate is,
Well, the raise,
gives you the comfort that, aren't it still 21,000?
listen, I'd say two things. Raising the rate doubled the amount of money, and that's what we needed to get. And secondly, I mentioned in my remarks, tax fairness continues to be an objective in our state. I hope all ships rise when the tide comes in, but tax fairness continues to be an objective. Please.
Tax at 5 million plus.
Multimillionaires tax.
Look, I was in this room yesterday, and you were probably the most fired up that I've ever seen.
That's not true, Matt.
That I've seen at a press conference, let's say that. I mean, and what you're describing right now is a lot of what was offered yesterday. I mean, how do you, and you're saying now that this is a win-win for everybody.
I don't want to speak for others here, but this is different than what we had yesterday. The rate is meaningfully different, and that's a big economic factor. The corporate business tax, in my opinion, got to a much better place today. There were meaningful developments, and I think we all should share on that. Please.
Do you plan to sign the school funding reform bill?
All of this will be done together. Obviously, they've got a lot of work that they've got to do in the morning. Yes, but the answer is yes, assuming everything else gets done.
How is this sustainable when after 2 years the CBT goes down to
Yep.
1.5, and after 4 years it goes to
Yep.
0? What will make up that difference?
Because, go ahead.
And then the other question I had was, is recreational marijuana anywhere in this mix?
The latter,
Obviously not this
yep,
bill.
it is not because there's no bill. So I can't score anything where there's not a bill, but I think there's a broad commitment among all of us. I think I could speak for all of us to try to get that over the goal line sooner than later. There's a pig through the python notion in terms of the economy. What I mean by that is this economy has been flat as a pancake. We are putting in place lots of different steps to unleash both the innovation and the infrastructure economy. We need time to get there. We can't get there overnight. We can't dig out of what we've inherited overnight. I'm confident, I think we're confident collectively that you look out 3, 4, 5 years from now, you've got a very different economy than we have today. And that would allow us to be able to trail that off over time.
Let's do one or two more.
Yeah, please. I still don't have a number, by the way. Please, I'll come back to you. Medicinal was 20 and recreational I thought was 40, right? 40 or 49. Please, sorry.
Yeah, so Assembly Leader Bramnick yesterday said that he wouldn't let you push these bills through on an emergency basis. How do you guys plan to actually get it through the legislature?
I'll let these guys speak to that.
Yeah, well, we had a voting session today. Our board is still open, so we're still in session. We're not, most of the things that you're going to see are conditional vetoes from the governor. We'll be able to concur with them tomorrow. There may be, I don't have a list yet of all of the bills, and so I can't tell you precisely how each and every one of them is going to get through, but we're in good shape, where we're going to be able to get them through without an emergency. there may be a couple of things that I have to work with the minority leader to get to. But, you know, I've worked closely with him, and I'm confident that he'll be understanding.
Please, one more. Thanks, man.
Just clarify, the CBTs firms that make more than $1 million?
Yes. What is that hat, by the way?
This is Marcel Lilly.
Okay, just checking. Anybody else? One more. Brent? Am I going to be on the beach this weekend?
That's my question. You go to the beach?
No, I'm swearing. I have the honor of swearing. In addition to signing about 4,000 things coming my way tomorrow, I'm swearing in several mayors, and I'm hoping to see a little bit of soccer. I haven't seen much soccer the past few days. Charlie.
One question about the theme of unity. What's this real force, or you brought to this agreement at this hour out of fear that the party could not sustain the image of being unable to govern?
I don't think that came up once. Literally, not once. Never. The good news here, and this is a good place to end, there was always very little disagreement about the investments we wanted to make. I mean, the disagreements were literally at the edges. This was where we had disagreement was almost exclusively on the mix of revenues and how we would fund those investments. Thank you all. Again, I want to thank these folks up here, and thank you all for your perseverance. I'm sorry we had to make you wait so long. Danny, could you make sure you answer the specific revenues questions that are asked? We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good job.
Thank you. You too. See you, buddy. Thanks. Thanks. Congratulations. You too, pal. Liz?